I'm Claire Bowen and today I'm going to do an interior painting in oils. This is an old Welsh farmhouse and I'm very excited to have a go at doing this interior. Haven't done many before, so it's all about the tonal values, that bright light coming in and this comfy armchair. So that's my kind of the two main aspects. Hopefully you're going to like this video, and if you do, please subscribe to my channel and let's get started. I've started mapping out, so I'm doing a tonal design here first, and we are in a Welsh home near St David's, and Nick isn't filming this one, I am, so hopefully it will be all right.
I've been sacked.
No, he hasn't. He's still here, but I'm having a go on my own. Because it's a tonal subject, I'm working in a kind of a tonal plan with all these kind of either the warmer colour or the cooler colour, in other words, brown or blue, to help me then with the actual painting. So this is, I guess, the underpainting. It's quite flat light today. It's raining outside. So I'm not sure whether I'm gonna kind of start this today and then wait for tomorrow, because I know it's going to be sunny, and then add some light to it. So we'll see how it comes out. So the light coming down there from the window is quite an important aspect. So it's getting the shadows in, which will then show the light. So there's some light coming in here as well under the chair, which is nice. Getting that shadow in from the pot. There's some under there as well. You can see that our car is out there, but we're going to move it so I can paint it without the car in the back. But you get an idea then of the light hitting the cushion and the side of the chair and coming in on the floor as well. So everything has to be keyed in with each other. So the lightest light is going to be in this window and coming down here. So I have to make sure that the dark on the outside, and the inside, I mean, is dark enough. But not too dirty though. I can key it maybe a little bit lighter than it actually is. So I'm using a Ultimate Long Flat here, Rosemary & Co, size 4. I'm starting with the darks. I cut off the top here on my composition because I wanted to emphasize the armchair and this area here. I'm going to do the darks of the chair now because it's next to that curtain. These colours I'm using are Permanent Rose, Ultramarine and Yellow Ochre. Not quite as dark there as the sides. I've mixed a kind of a grey colour, cool bit of green in, which goes quite nicely with this red. There's reflected light coming up here, from the floor, where the light's hitting it. It's bouncing back on the wall, which is quite nice. I think I might have been a little bit strong with these darks back here. Too dark. I'm just adding a bit of colour, a bit of orange in there. Cadmium yellow and Scarlet Lake. Got a lot of reflected light in here as well. I'm not going to bother about all the lines of the windows at the moment. I'm going to put them in after, because it can be a bit fiddly and a bit liney otherwise. I'm thinning my paint with terps, but try not to make it too thin, or else it can be slippery and slidey. I've got most of the dark patterns in now, and now I need to get the lights in. So the light shapes and the dark shapes, that's what I'm kind of looking for. So it kind of needs to follow that pattern of the window shape. I might just scrape that because I'm not happy with it. Work over the top. I was going to have a rug in here, but it's too small amount for the composition. Doesn't work. It's better to join it up. This is the fun bit, getting the through the window bit, making sure that it's light enough in tonal value and also quite got quite a good colour saturation as well. I'm using cadmium yellow, cerulean blue and titanium white, plus a little bit of Scarlet Lake, which is red, to warm it up. So I can lighten it a bit later if I need to. If it's not, if the difference isn't dark enough, and at the moment it isn't, the contrast between the two. This isn't dark enough, I don't think. I'm going to put some of the kind of sky bluey colour down on the floor as well, mixed in with some of that yellow, just to make it look as though the light from the window is coming down there. Time to get some of these lights in on the sofa, on the, what's it called, armchair. It's basically a light orange, so yellow and cad yellow, scarlet red, with some white in it. There's a lovely bit of light in here, really bright. So now I've done that, this is too dark, so I'm going to go back onto that and just lighten it a little bit, but not too much, because I still want it to be different to this. There's lots of folds and things that I could add, but I'm not going to go too complicated at this point. Just get the main shapes. The fun part of putting this cushion in and also another light which I can see is in here. It's a bit cooler than a cushion, where the light is hitting the side of the wall. So there's also light in this tray here, and light on there as well on the side of the pot reflects. So it's a dark surface, this. It's slate, but it's got the light on it. So it's got darker back here, but then it's a lot lighter in here. Just make it a bit cooler. The side of this cushion has got a bit of reflected light from the sofa, so it's warmer, but it is in shadow too. But because it's a light object, the shadow is light too. So we have most of it blocked in there. I'm just going to spin the video round so you can see it a bit more. There you go, there's the kind of what we're doing. I haven't got like little details in of the kind of the grassy things in the pot or the hydrangeas yet, but it's got the bones of it. So now to do the next level and the next layer. Talking of that hydrangea, I think I'm gonna get him in. Focal point. I've used cad yellow and cerulean with a bit of the pink mix. And also to look if there's anything else I can use. So there's a bit of book there. It's a lot darker than the outside. I can go over that outside to make it lighter. And this one to make it darker. I'm just working on the contrast between the outside and the inside to make sure that it's light and bright enough on that outside. It's getting it light enough but not too chalky. So now that I've done that, I'm just working on the window frames. Make them a little bit darker and a bit more, what's the word? Defined. It's kind of a neutral colour, probably erring on the cooler. So more blue in it. Mr. B reading his book. Hi, Mr. B.
Hello.
So I've just taken 2 days break from this painting. Yesterday was too sunny, so the conditions were too different to what I started with. So today is grey again, and I'm going to just start defining some more areas. I think that this needs to be a lot brighter and more contrasted between the two, the inside and the out. And maybe get some of the shapes a bit more defined as well. And, you know, like I've done this as a one sort of area, it needs a bit more light and dark and things. So I'm going to work on that now. It's helpful to come back with fresh eyes because you can see, you know, kind of what needs to be worked on, which is quite useful. I think there's some reflected light from the red throw going back onto this wall. So I'm just making small adjustments. The shadow and the kind of the reflection here of this, what do you call it? It's a wood holder. Barrel, there we go. I want to just adjust that it's just a bit lighter. want the contrast between these two things. Make sure it's, because this is very dark, the throw. I think that's better. Made this too dark. So there's a basket here that's in shadow. Well, I've got the dark paint. I need to do the leg. So as I do it, I'm just looking at the silhouette of the right side of the foot because it's the dark bit. I notice that this foot is too low. So I need to redefine him, bring him up a bit. But it's surprising how little you need to define it. That already looks kind of leg-like. I'm using ultramarine and burnt sienna as a base, then adding a little bit of the permanent rose, which helps to kind of connect with the reddy above it. And also then adding some yellow ochre, which then connects with the floor colour. So when you use burnt sienna and ultramarine, they are complementaries, orange and blue. And it makes a really dark, and you see how dark that is. Almost black, which I think is a little bit strong. So then I look for other really dark areas now that I've got some on my brush. But there, probably there and there are really the darkest amount. The outside area is not going to be defined massively, but it feels like it needs pepping up a little. It's a bit dull and it needs more contrast between the two. So I've just put in lemon yellow, white and cerulean. Might be a little bit too saturated now. Add a bit of more blue in there. The middle area needs a bit more as well because it's got some kind of bushy stuff, bushy tree stuff. And although I don't want to paint them all in, it needs to have, I think it'll look better with a bit more variety. But keeping it light enough so it feels like it's still through the window and not in the room. So I'm now working on these back fields, really far away but still got some golden colour. I can also define the upright of the window a bit more. A bit too chunky. So there are some kind of bushes and hedges, little trees, just to suggest them. And in the distance there is the sea that I'm going to put in. I'm going to take out a bit of the land to do it. I'm using a rigger brush, number 4, Ivory, Rosemary and Co. This area is too bright, it attracts the eye too much, and I want the eye to go onto that, come round into here. Just taking it down a little bit. I'm going to go back into the sky as well. I think it could do with being a bit lighter. So I'm using just a little bit of ultramarine and white and a tad of yellow. I don't want to cover it all over what I did before. And now that I've got this, I can go back down to that kind of a driveway thing. Although there's no sun light today, there's still light. And it's on here, catching the light quite strongly. I might adjust that, but it's a good start. It's also hitting the top of the window. I'm using Naples yellow light and warm white. The warm white is Michael Harding. Little bits on the edges too. Makes it less heavy. While I've got this light, I can also do other areas, like there's a light on there. A light around there as well. Helps to define the shapes. I'm going to put some darker areas in to define the windows a bit more. So I'm using another rigger brush. I tend to have a light and a dark going at the same time, so I can change between the two, which helps. I'm going to just turn round so you can see what I'm about to paint. So the brown kind of plant at the top, that thing, I'm going to have a go at now. So I'm squinting my eyes to kind of see the shape, the main shape first. It's lighter at the top here, and then there's dark areas down there. And then when it's against the window, it's dark, mainly. Adds a nice contrast to the scene behind it. To be quite light brushed. I can also go back in with the green behind and define it a bit more. It's ultramarine, permanent rose, and a little bit of burnt sienna, quite dark down there. I'm going to use my light rigger brush and just go in and do a bit of brushing around it. So the curtains need a little bit of work. They haven't been sculpted yet with the light and darks. So there's some light coming down here, but also I need to get the darks in to show those lights a bit more. And also it's nice contrast to get against the top of the armchair. Now I've got some of those darks, I'm going to go back with a light. Make sure they're light enough. It tends to catch on the edges of the folds. I'm not going to do every fold because that's too much. It's just suggesting it. And then there's a really light area too, right on the edge of the same the other side. The the green here needs to be stronger, so darker in tone and more saturated than the outside, because there's no window in between, so it's need to make sure it kind of shows that. And also the tonal range of it is big too. It's quite light on the top where the sun hits it. So I'm mixing more lemon yellow and white and a bit of cerulean. It's quite similar to outside colour, a little bit more saturated. I think it's time to do a bit more on the armchair. I'm using Scarlet Lake, Permanent Rose, Ultramarine, and a bit of white just to cool it. Feels like the shape of it needs a bit more defining as well. It kind of changes between pinky red and yellowy red. So I guess pink and orange. So I add a bit more yellow to that mixture. I'm also making sure that everything that's in shadow, it stays in shadow and I don't paint over that. I'm going to do the shadow area now, I think. So I'm also going thicker with my paint. It's quite nice how the the throw here is draped on it. So it overhangs a little bit and ripples up. So where it's really dark in there, there's a kind of a step between the really light and really dark, which I'm just doing now. I'm looking for any other place where that step is too. There's some here. I want the shadow shape and the light shape to still be quite strong. So I have to make sure I don't sully that. I think it needs some sort of work here because the angle of the chair isn't quite working. I have to kind of make a decision about that. Just moved up the thing a bit. Throw so I can get the foot in a bit better. I'm going back again now with the light. I need to make it lighter still, kind of light and bright. I'm using cad yellow, scarlet red. I think it needs more white too. You can also define the edges like I just did there. You can see I've got quite a lot of paint on my brush. So like the curtains, there's some light down the edge here and on the floor. This cushion needs a little bit more work. It's got some light more in there. Just helps define the shape of it a bit more. And some of the colour is reflecting into it as well, so it feels like it needs to be a bit pinky reddier. The edges especially are reflecting back up. So in here, catching the light from there. In that corner it's darker. So because it's a light cushion, as I said earlier, it's quite subtle. The tonal range, quite small. So we'll do a little tester like I did there and see if it's the right tonal value and it was still too light. Because I want it to go back into the corner. It's better. Almost disappears back there into the red cushion. the red throw, I should say. There's some lovely light coming through the underneath the chair. Helps define the edges. I feel I need some more light definition between this and this. So there's a line from the side of the window and the drape to here. So this bit here is quite a cool light. I put blue in it, and then above it there's a slightly warmer light in here. More yellow in there. So you can see I've just started that area there. It's the tonal value is too dark. There is difference between this and this and this and this, and this is the lightest. Those two are darker. At the moment they're too similar. So I'm just going to lighten it up, but it needs to still be dark enough to show the outside. It will help with defining this edge as well. And also losing the edge. I don't want it too strong because it's in the shadowy areas. So this is almost white, the this frame on this painting, but because it's in shadow, it's kind of yellowy, bluey. I want to just suggest the house that's in this painting. Give a little bit of content to it, so it's not just kind of colours. I'm looking for anything that's kind of jumping out that isn't quite finished. So the cup here needs a bit of definition. I'm just looking for any light areas that I can pick out. Quite dark underneath. Wow, what an amazing subject. I love doing that interior. I hope that you enjoyed watching it. I want to do more of those. Haven't done many before, and I learnt as I went along, and I hope that I gave you lots of information so you could have a go as well. And this was a 12 by 14 board in a Welsh farmhouse, and hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel. I'd very much appreciate it, and I'm also doing Patreon as well. So bye for now, and see you next time. Bye.
Do you know, babe?